Hi, it's Paul again from the series Dancing with Cancer. It's Saturday the 14th of December 2024 and it's been an absolutely manic week. I feel like I could start this video with my own version of the 12 Days of Christmas and it might sound a bit like that by the time I finished, but bear with me. So a quick resume of what's been going on in the last week since my last video. I started the week last Sunday by having a really fabulous dinner evening with a really good friend, which I really enjoyed and made me feel really good when I wasn't feeling that great. I've also had an amazing Christmas meal with my pickleball friends on Tuesday evening, which as always meant a night full of laughter and good food and fabulous company. I've had 2 badminton matches this week. I've had 5 pickleball sessions this week. I've had 5 gym sessions this week. So from the social side of things, it's been brilliant. And actually just what I needed to counteract some of the other stuff that's been going on. So let's talk about that. I've had a meeting with the dietitian, primarily to talk about stuff after treatment, but also talking a little bit about managing symptoms, side effects and stuff during treatment. Quite useful yet again. Some of the side effects and stuff being hammered home to me are terrifying, if I'm being really honest. Not stuff I haven't heard before, but I just keep hearing it over and over again. I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. Had a follow-up call from the Macmillan team here on the Isle of Man, which was really nice. Made me feel part of the system. Made me feel that I'm not going to get forgotten through everything that's going to happen, and particularly when I get back. Had somebody visit me on Friday to explain to me the fitting of the tube, feeding tube. Again, I'll talk more about that in a minute because there's more news on that front. That was really quite useful session actually. I had some questions to ask, and although all the answers weren't the ones I wanted to hear, it was good to have the answers. Actually, the chap who came out of my house was brilliant, really helpful. Was quite happy to answer any questions that I had. I'll come back to feeding tube because otherwise it'll be completely out of sequence. On Wednesday, I had another day in Liverpool. A very eventful day in Liverpool. It started off with the much dreaded meeting at the dentist, the specialist radiotherapy dentist at Liverpool University Dental Hospital. After the early morning flight, getting there and meeting my cousin, otherwise known as my brother from another mother, who was great, just great to have that sort of company there with me. He actually came into the initial meeting with the dentist with me, heard me talk about how anxious I was, how difficult the dental journey has been for me. Saw my reaction when the dentist was giving me an impression that after x-rays I was going to be facing treatment that morning, possibly including extractions. And that reaction was so bad that I was shaking, like literally shaking. So much so they offered me a cup of water, and when they brought it, I could barely drink it. I was shaking that much. Went off for the x-rays, asked my cousin not to come back in with me for what I thought was going to be treatment, because going to the treatment felt like it was going to be bad enough, but actually having somebody that I loved there to witness it, feeling embarrassed and self-conscious about it all, felt like something else I didn't need. And after some initial talk from the dentist about what would be required, what the issues were, blah blah blah, I was again utterly shocked to find out that no treatment was needed. And I went from I dread to think what my heart rate was up to that point, but it dropped very suddenly when hearing that news. Um, in fact, I asked if I could have a hug. I was that relieved. Um, Lots of stuff I'll have to have done after treatment, more fillings and stuff like that, but that will be back here with the dentist that I've built up a relationship with, so that felt an awful lot better. Um, and actually, there was going to be stuff following the dental stuff in Liverpool, so I didn't want to turn up after treatment in a complete and utter state. So it helped with that as well. Again, the team there were brilliant with me, and they recognised the state I was in, and actually recognised the journey I'd been on with the dentist here. And as I said to my friend who got me to go through the dental stuff here, I can't begin to describe how eternally grateful I am to her for getting me through that, because otherwise I wouldn't have got that answer on Wednesday. Anyway, came out of there, walked around the corner to Clatterbridge, into what was going to be the fitting of my radiotherapy mask. Just bear with me a minute while I try and get something that I can show you. Again, I'm not sure I can do this. What a shame. Yes, I can. Hopefully this will work. Hoping you can see that well enough. No, you probably can't. There we are. That's as good as you're going to get. That's me in my radiotherapy mask. I'd heard lots of horror stories about the fitting of the mask, the claustrophobic aspects of it, and everything else that goes along with that. Actually, I found it fine. It was all explained to me. There were 3 members of staff around me helping the process. The material was soaked. I could hear that happening in the background, and then it was placed over my head and face, as you can see. I had a little bit of a fear it was going to be too hot to bear, but it wasn't at all. They fairly quickly, but smoothly, made sure it was in all wrinkles and spaces on my head. Left it for a couple of minutes until it had hardened, took it away, and that was my mask, and it's going to be my mask for the duration of my treatment. So that was a bit of a relief as well. I went pretty much straight from there to a CT scan, where the mask was put on me for the duration of the scan. Cannula fitted, stuff put in the cannula. CT scan takes place, mask bolted down, or whatever phrase you use to keep my head in place. And all the while that CT scan was taking place, I was saying to myself, do you know what, this is okay, and this is really good practice for what it's going to feel like when you're having your radiotherapy treatment. So that was very good. Came out of there, was surprised to find out that there was also going to be an MRI scan, which would happen like pretty much, well, near enough straight after the CT scan, a little bit of a gap. So I had an MRI scan with more dye through the cannula. Mask on again for a longer period of time. Again, that was fine. Didn't mind the MRI, had one of them before, so that didn't feel like a big problem. And then eventually I left there, and my cousin had to go by that point in time. So I went to Liverpool, had something to eat, had a bit of a wander. Went and found the 2 possible locations for the apartments that I might be staying in while I'm having my treatment. Went back. Excuse the noise, me fiddling around, but I need something to help with this. Eventually back and flew back, got back to the Isle of Man, got back to my house about 9 o'clock at night, having set the alarm at 4:45 that morning, so another long and extremely tiring day. For those involved in the Isle of Man, actually, or those who aren't, it's well worth knowing that they're really draining days, they really are, physically and mentally. Um, anyway, that was on Wednesday, and I've talked to you about some of the other things that have happened since then, and more meetings and appointments I've got, which leads me neatly on to the next lot of appointments. So as I say, it's Saturday today. On Monday, I'm on the early flight yet again. This time I'm heading to Aintree Hospital, where I'll be staying. On Tuesday morning, I'll be having an endoscopy down my throat. Not looking forward to that, though I believe I'll be heavily sedated for it. Better be. And the purpose of that is I will also be having a feeding tube inserted into my stomach. I won't need to use it straight away. I'll need to keep it clean and flush it and stuff like that. But there will come a point where my swallowing, etc., will be so difficult that I'll need to keep my strength and my weight up. And the only way of doing that is to make sure I get sustenance through the feeding tube. Obviously, I've got lots of experience of seeing this because my wife's had one for more than 5 years. Difference being, it's going to be me. It's going to be on me. It's going to be me looking after it. It's going to be me putting the feed and medicines and other stuff through there. But as I've said before, that's just some more noise for me to deal with. That's that one. Much bigger news to talk about. There have been so many phone calls this week, so many emails this week, so many text messages this week from clinicians and others here on the Isle of Man, Clatterbridge, Aintree, too many places that I can even mention. Lots of chasing up going on because I was promised my treatment schedule and dates when I was having my mask fitted, but for various reasons that didn't happen. But yesterday, it finally did happen. I now know that I will be leaving the island on Boxing Day, late in the evening on Boxing Day, heading to my accommodation, which I'm waiting to be confirmed, and that the following day, at 8 a.m. in the morning, I'll be starting my treatment journey. Obviously, I know it's going to be very, very difficult, but I'm very happy it's starting soon. It also means that although to some people the idea of it starting on Boxing Day might sound, well, my travelling starting on Boxing Day might sound horrendous, it's given me the added bonus that I'll be able to spend Christmas with my wife and son, which, believe me, is very important and very special to me. So I'm very glad that that's happening. There are so many arrangements and things for me to sort out between now and then. No, it's less than 2 weeks away, that. And for 3 of those days, I'm going to be in Liverpool anyway, as I've already explained. But it's a pretty good option for me. So I'm quite happy with that. How am I feeling right now? Probably worth just mentioning that. It really does feel like a roller coaster. You know, something happens, an appointment, a meeting, a test or whatever, and you get really anxious before it. You build yourself up as best you can. You gird your loins as best as you can for that process. It's over. You get perhaps some good news like I did about the dentist, and you feel elated actually about that. Any kind of good news is great at the moment. But then very quickly you're brought back down to earth by the next appointment or the next bit of information, or actually just by the sheer volume of things that are happening, which is truly overwhelming. And to describe it as an emotional roller coaster, believe me, is a complete and utter understatement. If anybody knows me, they'll know I don't like roller coasters and I don't do roller coasters. But again, we're back to that noise conversation again. And following on from the last video, something that has really been in my mind in the last 2 or 3 days, like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday even, while all this stuff was happening travel, dental appointments, trying to get dates that weren't coming, more information about side effects and stuff like that. My OCD has been off the scale, and it's been really hard to manage. Yeah, the movements and the ordering of stuff, definitely way more than recently. But actually the fears thing about stuff happening to your loved ones and things like that has been ridiculous and really hard to manage. And again, it goes back to that resilience thing. You know, you're feeling a bit low, you're feeling a bit battered and bruised, and those sorts of things come to the fore. So it's been difficult, been manic. Actually, right now, although I'm feeling absolutely shattered, and I'm anxious about everything to come, I am relieved that it's finally starting. And some of the unknowns and uncertainties, some of them, have now become known. And that's good news for me. I'm going to end with just a brief comment on the music side of things. Don't touch on this very often, but I talked before about a number of the artists that I follow. I'm going to mention a few others, and I'm going to mention them because they're what I'm listening to at the moment when I'm in the gym, when I'm in the airport, when I'm in the car. They'll probably be unfamiliar to almost everybody out there, but if anybody's into dance music, house music, or fancies listening to some, I'd recommend Rufus Du Sol, recommend Anima, who I've been well into for a long time, any of the Afterlife live events, and actually a lot of stuff will just fall off the back of that, particularly if you use things like Spotify and YouTube. So yeah, music is there, literally, almost all the time for me. It's such a powerful tool. And even when I'm finding it tough, like for example in the gym this morning, I found that a really tough session. And I turned Anima up a little bit louder, and I forced myself through gritted teeth to get on with it. And in between pieces of equipment, my feet and legs were tapping away like I don't know what, using more energy than I should have been. So that's the end of this. This particular session, by the time I speak to you, I'll have been to Liverpool again. I'll have had a feeding tube fitted. My son will be here for Christmas, which I'm looking forward to so much. And in fact, I may even leave the next video until after I've arrived in Liverpool and had treatment number 1. I'll have a little bit more to talk to you about then, and you'll see a completely different location. Longer video than normal, sorry about that, but an awful lot to talk about. So I don't see any of you beforehand. I'm wishing you all a very Merry Christmas. For those of you who are not well or going through treatment or post-treatment impact, I wish you nothing but the best. Hang in there. You'll get there. So sending love to everyone. Bye for now. From Paul, from the series Dancing with Cancer.